5 ways to increase your car crash settlement. Number 1, get medical treatment. There's 2 really important reasons why getting medical treatment is so important. Number 1, pain and suffering is usually associated with medical bills and doctor visits, all that fun stuff. And so the more medical records and more medical bills, that's generally associated with higher pain and suffering awards. Now, I'm not telling anyone to get unnecessary treatment, but go to the doctor. Follow the doctor's advice. Go to follow-up treatments. If they tell you to do physical therapy, go to physical therapy. Don't shortchange yourself, because it's going to be very hard to say, I'm very hurt, I'm in a lot of pain and suffering. We don't have the medical documentation to support that. The second big reason why getting medical treatment is important is because in Indiana, the only responsibility for an injured person is to mitigate their damages. That's a fancy way of saying they have to do what they can to make themselves better. That means following doctor's advice and following the recommended course of treatment. So let's talk about those 2 real quick. Number 1, I have a quick story. I have a case where a relatively young man got into an auto accident on a Friday, and he was hurting. He told the police report says complaints of back pain. But he was a younger man, he was in an accident, he had a lot of energy, he was full of adrenaline, just in an accident. The officer said, hey, let's get you an ambulance. And the guy said, no, I'll be okay. So he went home that night. Now that's Saturday morning, he wakes up, my back not feeling good. But you know what? He just kind of sat down, took it easy. Sunday comes around, he's still in pain. He's not feeling any better. In fact, he feels worse. He has to go to work on Monday, and he's like, I can't miss Monday. Mondays are the craziest day of the week. I need to go to work, and then I'll try to deal with this afterwards. He goes to work on Monday. He's in lots of pain. His coworkers say, oh man, this guy doesn't look right. He doesn't go to the doctor. On Tuesday, he's like, okay, I finally got the craziest day of the week. I'm not feeling any better. I feel worse. I'm going to go to the doctor. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, goes 4 days after the crash. Insurance adjuster. When we put our demand in, tell the insurance adjuster we need X amount of dollars to settle this case. The insurance adjuster calls me, Mark, this guy didn't get medical treatment. How do we know he's not faking it? Somebody that was really injured would have gone to the doctor right away. That's not how life works. But by delaying medical treatment, not getting immediate medical treatment, then the adjuster and insurance companies get to say, hey, you're faking it, or you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, and we can't be responsible for this because you didn't do what you're supposed to be doing. Get medical treatment. The next part of that is following doctor's orders. So a lot of times people get into auto accidents, slip and falls, anything, life still goes on. And trying to fit in doctor's appointments can be challenging when you have to take care of children, you have to go to work, you have to take care of your family. There's so many things that are going on. And then you get into an auto accident, or slip and fall, or dog bite, whatever, and you got to go to the doctor. And it adds a burden. So sometimes people will make appointments and they'll cancel them, or they'll reschedule for a couple of weeks later. When people do not follow the doctor's course of treatment, canceling appointments, or God forbid, no showing, that's the worst. If you don't follow the doctor's course of treatment, then the insurance company can say, well, they didn't do what they're supposed to do to mitigate their damages, so this case is not worth nearly as much as it would be if they followed their advice. So by not getting proper medical treatment, the person that was injured gives the insurance company lots of extra reasons not to pay, or not to pay as much on a claim. So get medical treatment. Number 2, document everything. If anybody goes to the emergency room, there's usually going to be at least 4 different bills with one emergency room visit. If you go by ambulance, there's going to be an ambulance bill. When you go to the actual hospital, there's going to be a hospital bill for the actual facility. There's going to be an ER physician's bill. Those are the actual doctors that are working on you. And then 4th and final category would be an x-ray bill or imaging. And there might even be more. But every single visit has at least 2 or 3 different bills attached to it. One of the things that we see when people try to handle their case on their own is they don't have all of those bills, or they only have 1 or 2. They don't have 3 or 4. And so they try to make a settlement with the insurance company. They don't have all the bills. And then later on, they find out a year later, 2 years later, hey, you still owe $5,000 for that ER visit or that course of treatment. So make sure you get all of the medical bills, all the documentation, get the x-ray bills, get everything you can possibly related to this case. But I'm also talking about, pictures, overhead maps, if there's something funny going on at the scene, anything you can, but get as much documentation as possible. Get a complete copy of the medical bills and medical records. Number 3, when a person is finally finished treatment, when they've reached maximum medical improvement, a fancy way of saying they're as good as they're going to get, they can make a demand. One of the things that we see, especially with people that do not have attorneys, is they're thinking, hey, I want to show them that I'm not crazy. I'm going to make a demand. Medicals are $5,000. I'm just going to ask for $10,000, and they're going to see that I'm reasonable. Problem is, insurance companies are unreasonable. They're in it to make as much money for their shareholders as possible. And even though they're probably being really nice to you on the phone, they don't care about you. They care about saving as much money as possible. That's fact. They're trained to appear to be nice. They're trained to appear to care because they recognize when they appear to be friendly, people usually treat them friendly back and do things and say things they shouldn't. So the reality is, though, if a person does not make a high enough demand offer, you've made an artificial ceiling. And that's a problem, because I've had cases where people have tried to handle a case on their own, or people have switched attorneys to come to work with us. And I go to mediation and say, hey, I need $500,000 to settle this case. That's what I need for my client. That's what he's entitled to. That's based on everything I had presented to you. And I've had mediators, these are usually former judges, say, hey, Mark, I understand that's what you think, but the problem is the prior attorney. The problem is the client representing themselves, they made a demand of $200. So this adjuster only has authority for $200. And how is he supposed to go and say, hey, I need more money because this case is worth more? It just creates an obstacle. And some adjusters are just like, no, it's a matter of pride. I will not go and get more than what you originally demanded. So you've got to make a demand that's high enough to include everything and not create an artificial ceiling on what you can recover. That gets kind of technical, but that's why we're attorneys. If you're trying to handle a case on your own, just understand you have to make a high enough demand. Otherwise, you're going to create more problems down the line. Number 4, one way to try to get additional money for an injury case, car crash, slip and fall, dog bite, is by doing research on past jury verdicts. And so that can be a little bit challenging, usually requires a subscription to legal research. But if you can find, hey, listen, rear end collisions are getting X, Y, and Z. Dog bites are getting X, Y, and Z. Slip and falls at movie theaters are getting A, B, and C. And you can present that as part of your demand. That sometimes will be a little bit push to try to get some additional compensation. The final tip is, and this is really important, every case has what they call liens. I'll put a link to a video about liens, but basically liens are legal ways for somebody else to grab money out of your settlement. There's hospital liens, there's medical payments liens, there's MedPay liens from your own automobile insurance, there could be Medicare liens, Medicaid liens, there could be a VA lien, there could be a workers' comp lien. But basically these take money from you. And what a person can do, though, is they can negotiate these liens. And negotiating the liens to the smallest amount possible will help put more money in the person's pocket. Negotiating liens can be very challenging, and depending on what type of lien it is, the insurance company may or may not say, I don't got to take a reduction. And they may be right about that, but there's other ways to try to twist them, to try to take a reduction. So you have to negotiate the liens. The liens are one of the biggest problems we see for people who represent themselves in an injury case. We get calls all the time, hey, Mark, I settled my own case, but I settled and I don't think I got enough for all the bills. What do you mean? Well, I settled for $10,000, but I just got a bill from my automobile insurance. They want $3,000 back. I just got a bill from X, Y, and Z medical provider, and they say they want X, Y, and Z back. Hey, Mark, I just got a bill from my own health insurance saying they want $4,000 back. Mark, I only sell it for $10,000. I can't afford that. Liens are challenging, and they cannot be ignored. So do not even think about settling a case until a person knows what all the liens are. That's so important. So those are the 5 ways that we think any injury case settlement can be increased. Now, here at the Marc Lopez Law Firm, we understand that being injured in a car crash, dog bite, slip and fall, anything like that, comes with a significant amount of frustration. Allow the Marc Lopez Law Firm to turn that frustration into compensation. Give us a call today, 317-632-3642.